So those are their power rankings. But the power rankings that we concern ourselves with every week here on Get Up belong to this man. Ryan Clark, who do you think are the 5 best teams in the NFL?
You know what? And like I say, every time we do this, Greeny, we don't need to really discuss my power rankings because they are my power rankings. People don't really get to have an opinion. And number 5, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. Now, I was on this show a couple of Mondays ago, and you heard Rex Ryan call this defense Swiss cheese. And sometimes it is. But this offense can be government cheese. Yeah, I'm talking about the old school government cheese that was made out of a block. It made the best grilled cheese sandwiches, and it is solid as a rock. And that's what Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams have been for this team recently. And when Aaron Jones is healthy, this offense can flat out go. And I know we're going to say, well, look, they lost to Tampa Bay and Minnesota. There are going to be some weeks like that. When you look at this team consistently, though, if Lazard gets back healthy, the way that Aaron Jones plays, Davante Adams, protection up front, and Aaron Rodgers now elevating himself into the MVP conversation, this is a team that's going to be a tough out. Not yet ready to win a championship, but moving in that direction if they can stop the run. And at number 4, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. A big reason for that is Josh Allen. And I was kind of taking a step back on Josh Allen. I remember the Dan Orlovsky talk. This guy is going to win the MVP. And then we kind of started to see old Josh Allen. But we go against, you see the Buffalo Bills face Russell Wilson. They're going up against the Michael Jackson of the league. And we saw somebody else moonwalking, somebody else putting people on skates. And that was Stephon Diggs. And we watched that allow Josh Allen to absolutely excel. In the one-on-one matchup with Russell Wilson, he went for over 400 yards. The defense made big plays, and that team got to win. They are going to be a tough team in the AFC. And at number 3, the Saints go marching in. I know the people in New Orleans will be like, this isn't high enough. Did you see Breezes? He was doing all kind of things. Michael Thomas, he's so good. I agree with all of those things. But we finally got to see this defense play. And if this defense plays like this, if they rush the passer, if Malcolm Jenkins locks down tight ends, and if those 2 very talented corners play the way that they play, in February, we might see a little Beanie Weenie. We might see a little Eddie Bauer. We might see the chopper style. They might get the gat. But they have to continue to play this way, and it has to be more than when they're just playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And yes, I keep this towel here now. You know why I keep this towel here? Because they don't lose. Of all the teams that have had bad days, and the Steelers have had bad days, they still haven't had a day bad enough to lose a game. And isn't that what this is about? You go up against the Dallas Cowboys. There's a little bit of a letdown. You've been taking body blows. You took a couple of shots to the jaw. You actually don't walk into, you walk into the game how Ben Roethlisberger often walks out of games and into press conference. You are limping a little bit. The whole world knows that you aren't feeling good. But what do? You find a way to make plays. Juju Smith-Schuster comes up with the big catches. Minka Fitzpatrick, the big interceptions, because that's what it's about. They are a clutch team with a clutch coach who's one of the best in the world, and we're seeing that right now. And at number 1, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. There really wasn't much suspense in this. This team is playing horse. If horse could be a football game, then Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs would be the tallest dude on your block because you know he could do things that all the little people couldn't. You ever watch, did anybody ever see the movie The Last Dragon? And you remember when Bruce Leroy got the glow? Well, that is how Patrick Mahomes walks on the field every day. It doesn't matter what Sho'nuff is doing. It doesn't matter if he's dripping and he's trying to punch Leroy. He's going to catch it, wave his hands like this. They will be glowing, and he will get jet sweeps to take the snap, do pirouettes, do ballerina dances, find DeMarcus Robinson in the back of the end zone, and there's nothing you can do. And the bad part about it is these are the days they aren't even playing really hard. Because remember what they did to Baltimore when it counted, and they had to cut it on. It was a blowout. We can expect more of that from the Kansas City Chiefs going forward. It's like watching the number 1 team in collegiate football.
As he says, they're his rankings, so it's very hard to argue. But if you were to put yours together, Dominique, would they look like that? Where do you take significant quarrel? Who would be number 1 for you?
No, I have no quarrel. That is a perfect ranking. I don't just wondering if the Steelers can do anything to get the number 1 spot. I don't think that they deserve it necessarily. That's a perfect list, and I do think that the Chiefs are, they're number 1. They aren't undefeated, but they are the best team, and we all know it. We can pretend like they aren't, but we all know it.
What do you think, Dan Graziano?
I voted Chiefs this week, so I agree with Ryan. Steelers, I have a lot of respect for what they're doing. Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Tomlin, but I got to say this because earlier in the show this was discussed. The Bengals are going to beat them this week. I don't care who's playing the quarterback.
He's got the Bengals beating the
Remember
Steelers
where you heard
this week.
Remember where you heard it.
We will see if he wants
Bold prediction.
He'll be crying in his terrible towel.
And again, we have jumped heavily onto the Packers bandwagon after they played an absolutely ravaged San Francisco 49ers team on a Thursday night. Let's see if they're able to back that up this week. All right, now it is time for something unique.
Ready or not, tell him here I come. Ready or not, tell him here I come.
Look at me, I'm handsome, fast, quick. It doesn't take much for me to, I'm modest, humble, Doesn't take much for me to be confident.
Our friend Mr. Foxworth, Dominique.
Consecutive days since his most recent contact with Vance McDonald, which was Sunday when they played a game. So, assuming he tested negative Monday, Tuesday, today, Thursday, then Friday, he can return to the facility on Saturday and join in whatever they do, walk through practice or anything on Saturday, and play Sunday. If he tests positive at some point during that stretch, then all bets are off and he gets backed out of the thing and his timeline gets pushed back probably a couple of weeks. But so far, so good. And yes, at this point, he has to, if he continues to test negative, he's all good to go. He also has a knee injury from that game, right? Is that what you're going to say?
Yes.
So that's another thing he has to work on to make sure he's ready for Sunday. Now, Mike Tomlin, the head coach, says that he's going to be. They believe he will, but he can go in and get treatment on that knee during very specific times when only specific people are there because he's on that COVID list.
So he can be around the facility, but he can't be around his teammates and the coaches. And the preparation for him would still be virtual, even though he would be in the building.
Only the treatment would be in person. Obviously, you can't do that virtually. They got to work on your knee. So they tell him specifically when he can and can't come, who is going to be there when he's there, et cetera, and make sure and limit that exposure.
I remind you, this was basically the situation the Lions were in last week with Matthew Stafford. He missed, for all intents and purposes, the entire week of preparation. He wound up playing in the game on Sunday. Did not play well. I guess we don't really know if that was a factor. Let me bring Dominique and RC into the conversation here. And RC, I'll start with you, the former Steeler. Let's just make it as simple as we can. If Mason Rudolph is the starting quarterback for the Steelers on Sunday, who wins when they play the Bengals?
You know what? I don't know who wins, but I'm scared as hell. Honestly, when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals and you look at the way this team has been progressing, they beat the Tennessee Titans in the last time they took the field. And we saw Mason Rudolph last year. We were marveling over the Steelers for being able to go 8-8 with that level of quarterback play. I think they have the advantage. I believe that their defense is one of the best in the league. I think that their coach is a top 1 or 2 or 3 coach in the league. But still, when you're dealing with not having your quarterback, when you're dealing with the guy who had to pull you through against the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think you feel good going into a game against a rising team, a very good young quarterback with Mason Rudolph as your starter.
What do you think, Nick? Who wins the game if Ben doesn't play?
Yeah, I'm not as confused by this game or concerned about this game as Ryan is. I think the Steelers still win. They don't ask Ben to do all that much.
That's because you don't have an
Ben,
emotional attachment to it.
That's fair.
That's why.
You're tough on the ones that you love. I don't love them. I mean, you could argue that maybe I'm opposite of love them, but I respect the hell out of them, and they are super talented. And the Bengals are not going to be a problem. They're up and comers. They aren't there. The Steelers are real. That defense is real, and Mason can throw some short passes to those playmakers enough to score enough points because that defense is not going to let Joe Burrow breathe at all.
It is also worth pointing out that for what it's worth, Ben Roethlisberger is 38 years old, maybe a week off and get treatment on the knee and, take a week off somewhere in the middle of the season might in the long run wind up not being such a bad thing for him. Meanwhile, let's go on the clock. We have a variety of other topics to get to around the National Football League.